Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Del, and I gotta be honest, I'm actually very excited about the Season 2 of War Within, with the patch 11.1 bringing so many different class revamps, so many little improvements to the game, with many talent changes, many ability changes, and some actually good comprehensive reworks of hero specs that have felt maybe a little too passive, or a little fell behind a little bit too much, or just don't really fit that class fantasy at all. And one of the bigger aspects of this 11.1 update is, the seasonal content looks really good, the new zone actually looks exciting, the drive mechanics looks really fun, but they're adding even more quality of life improvements and features into 11.1. Some actually good adjustments, whether it is how certain classes interact with the game's world, or managing all of your ults with a warband system, but also what seems like a good portion of endgame improvements for all kinds of players, from those of you that enjoy big group content, or if you just prefer to explore and tackle on the world as a solo instead. So I wanted to highlight all of the big quality of life improvements that are planned to arrive with the patch 11.1, which should hopefully be hitting PTR very soon. As always, if you guys want to see more regular future expansion updates for War Within, like the patch 11.1 and its Season 2 content lineup, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. Now, 11.1 definitely does seem like a patch that's bringing the class of Hunter in particular some of the biggest quality of life improvements. Not only are we getting some massive reworks for specs like marksmanship, but also the pack leader, as well as beast mastery and survival changes, but also hunters are finally getting some much needed control over the pets at the stable. Normally, hunter pets are assigned a spec from the get-go naturally, either as a ferocity pet, which provides you with a leech for survivability, but also primal rage, which is essentially a bloodlust effect. We have the tenacity pets, which are more defensive, providing you additional stamina, but also bears fortitude for even more health in order to survive dangerous encounters. And then there's the cunning pets, which provide you with additional movement speed and also ways to break out of root effects. So all of them are fairly thematic. And normally for hunters, all of those spec specializations are pre-assigned to them, which means that hunters have to find specific pets with specific unique abilities that they have. Like, for example, T'Zala comes with a Mortal Strike effect, which can be great for PvP, but maybe you want someone with a little bit better defense, so instead of cunning, you may have to opt out for a tenacity pet, but that means you can't use T'Zala as your primary companion. Instead, you're now forced to search for a tenacity pet that has a very similar effect, with many players wishing they could pick the pet that you want to run with, because maybe it fits your MOG, maybe it fits your playstyle, maybe it has an ability that you really like, and many players have wanted to be able to change the spec of their pets. And as of 11.1, you finally will be able to change them from cunning, ferocity, or tenacity at will from the stables, which is huge for hunters, not only from the gameplay perspective, but also customizability. So if there's a pet that maybe matches your MOG, or your playstyle, or your feel, or whatever hunter you want to make, whether you're beast mastery or survival, you can now choose to run with your favorite companion. But also gameplay-wise, it now allows you to mix and match pets that have a unique ability, with most pets having some sort of unique skill, either defensive one, or maybe that one that's a little bit more offensive and a little bit more aggressive. And you can now mix and match your pets a little bit better, combining the effect of the actual pet together with the spec that you need, which has definitely been one of the most requested features for multiple seasons and expansions now, and it's finally arriving with 11.1. Now, another notable change that's arriving in 11.1 is a change to many different crack controls in the game, specifically things like in disorients and incapacitations. So abilities like polymorph, imprison, blind, gouge, freezing trap, disorienting word paralysis, blinding light from paladins, or repentance will now be abilities that break on damage threshold instead of instantaneously. Normally as a hunter, if you were to freezing trap an enemy out in the open world, as soon as they take damage from any ability, that freezing trap instantly breaks. So imagine a situation like PvP or a Mythic Plus dungeon, for instance, where an enemy needs to be crowd controlled immediately. But let's say somebody accidentally hits it, like in solo shuffle, when there's not a lot of communication, an ally may end up accidentally breaking an enemy out of a crowd control when they really did not mean to. So now all of those CC are going to function very similarly to others effects that can potentially break on damage, but not necessarily. Instead, they have a damage threshold, like this sphere here. You can keep auto attacking this guy, and until you do a set amount of damage may end up breaking the fear effect, but it's not necessarily a guarantee. So more abilities are going to function like Hunter's Scare Beast or Warlock's Fear abilities, but applied for incapacitation effects. which is going to have a fairly sizable impact in both Mythic Plus content, potentially raid content, and definitely PvP content, as it allows you to land those crowd controls and have a little bit more guarantee that they will actually stick. If, let's say, an ally accidentally dotted an enemy, happens a lot when you play with the Disc Priest, for instance, or if, let's say, an ally accidentally just AoE cleaves at a target that you just threw into a blind in a solo shuffle arena. They didn't mean to break it, but instantly, as soon as they do any kind of damage, the CC breaks, and now your win condition may potentially be out of the window. But with this change, you can get a little bit more of a leeway with some of your crowd control abilities, and hopefully they'll become a little bit more consistent when it comes to landing those crowd controls in order to make sure that you have some established CC for an enemy target. Another big change arriving in the patch 11.1 is more adjustments and changes to the warband screen. And we've been able to data mine a bunch of new changes coming up to this warband screen, but specifically the campsite of your warband. And the data mining reveals that there's going to be new changes to the scenery of the warband, which we'll hopefully be able to check out over on 11.1 PTR very, very soon. However, not only are you going to be able to change the background on your warband, but also you'll be able to create new groups within your warband as well. Kind of like how you have a favorites group, you'll be able to make even more groups amongst all of your characters and make multiple groups within your warband search window. Players will be able to make additional camp groups in the character select screen and organize the characters in a variety of different groups. So if you want to make a group for farming characters, for professions, you can place them in a separate group. If you want to make a specific group for Mythic Plus characters or PvP focused characters, you can place them in separate groups, or even adjust all of your characters between roles like tanks, healers, and DPS, so you can compartmentalize all of those characters as much as you want to. And being able to organize your characters a little bit better from this character selection screen, I think is a huge boost in terms of being able to adjusting the functionality of all of your characters and where they're displayed, and the customization of being able to assign different campsites for those specific groups, I think is only a nice bit of added touch towards being able to fully optimize all of the characters within the character window. Now, throughout my time spent gearing within Season 1 of War Within, I feel like everybody has come to that same point where you're basically best in slot on every single item on your character, but you may be missing that one piece of gear from a raid that is necessary for your character to be super competitive when it comes to dungeons or raids or any form of endgame progression. And you wish there was some kind of like a bad luck protection to be able to get the item, like if, let's say, you're an evoker who could barely ever get your hands on a Spy Master's web, even though it's basically mandatory if you want to be able to play just about any caster and high-end content. Well, 11.1 is bringing with it some new raid bonuses with its own raid renown system that progresses very similar to some of the renowns that we have, like with Council of Dornogal, Assembly of the Deeps, Hollowfall Rathi, but this one is going to be specifically set for the new raid in 11.1. Which brings with it a bunch of new bonuses, but instead of being able to get things like cosmetics for a faction or potentially even some more Valor Stones, instead you'll be getting things like raid bonuses like damage increases from within the instance, movement speed increases while you're in the raid instance, crafting tables in the main hub area, or potentially even an auction house so you can collect all your consumables before you start a boss encounter, and eventually you'll be able to get a certain currency that from the looks of it should function like the original dinar currency from expansion like Dragonflight or Shadowlands, which essentially allows you to purchase guarantee one specific item from the raid tier as a guaranteed drop, which means bad luck protection so you can obtain some of those rarest items of the game that maybe are necessary and mandatory for your class or your character to be competitive within the Season 2 content of 11.1. Which is a massive improvement when it comes to gearing out characters and getting some of your best in slot pieces. So if your character needs a certain weapon or a certain trinket or a certain unique item with a bonus effect, or even a rare item, when there's plenty of those with Nuremberg pallets, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of those types of items heading forward into the Undermine raid. And finally, we have Delve Editions, with Delves trying to evolve and further grow as its own form of endgame progression. Generally, Delve started off very good when it comes to the amount of gear they drop for you, with so many champion track pieces and decent gear that you can get from Great World, but after a while they kind of fell behind things like Mythic Plus or raids to some degree. Where a lot of players came to a bit of a sour point with Delves was when they were getting some of this hero track gear from Delves, which is awesome, the fact that you can get them, but you couldn't really upgrade those items. Essentially, all of them were stuck at about 619 item level, whether they were champion track or hero track, because Delves barely award any gilded crests, and when they do, it's in very small quantities. And the gilded crests are necessary when it comes to trying to optimize your character with some of the best gear, and it's how you upgrade some of those hero track items to the next possible level. Well, Delves are going through a variety of improvements, from Brand getting a new role to a bunch of different curios getting amped up, but also you'll finally be able to earn gilded crests from Delves, and those specifically come from tier 11 Delve reward difficulty. As of this moment, we have no idea exactly how many gilded crests you'll be able to earn whenever you run your tier 11 Delve, but hopefully they'll be awarded in decent quantity, since tier 11s are going to be a bit of a step up in terms of difficulty compared to what most players are used to, which is tier 8 Delves. But you'll finally be able to not only get gilded crests to upgrade all of your hero track gear, but if you can even amass enough gilded crests just from Delves specifically, you can even craft some high item level gear from your work order table. If you have enough gilded crests, you can then craft some really high and powerful gear, like guaranteed items with guaranteed secondary stats. Once you get all the materials and a couple of sparks and your missive to guarantee what stats you want on the item, you can even embellish it with other things as well, but most importantly, you can upgrade the item level, which starts out fairly low, but with crests, it can be further upgraded. Trading in Rune Crest allows you to get Enchanted Rune Harbinger Crest from the Enchanting profession to get your crafted items up to 619 item level as the highest rank 5 quality. However, if you get the gilded crest, convert them into a gilded Harbinger enchanted crest, then those items can be upgraded all the way up to 636 item level, which means that through Delves with eventually enough gilded crests, you could start crafting 636 item level pieces, which is a much needed quality of life improvement for all Delve players out there that will allow them to earn gear and craft gear that's basically equivalent to mythic track quality, with those item levels being way higher than 636 before season 2, because the item levels are going to go up. But essentially you'll still be able to get gilded crests for season 2 and craft the mythic track gear for that season 2 content just from Delves, which is a pretty huge component when it comes to being able to be a solo player, gearing out your character with some of the best items available through Delves alone, which is going to be a fairly sizable quality of life improvement. As always though, I want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give this video a like. I would very much appreciate it. Join our Discord community for future patch 11.1 updates, especially as we get the PTR finally rolling out in the new year. As always, send me all your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see all of you guys in the next one.